All right. Hey, good morning, YouTube. What's going on? Trying to get things situated here. I haven't set myself up in so long. I forgot how to do this, I think. So I'm getting situated here so I can get some things opened up, get some people to come in, see who shows up. Move this all around. Weather is what it is. We got snow out west. Winter is not going away. It tried to snow around here yesterday, but it all stayed to the north, I believe. But what's been going on out there? See, we got Glitch Mod. What's going on? Good morning. You getting used to this early morning rise thing, huh? Trying to get used to it at least? The countdown is on, right? There's a little bit of the weather going on, though. I had some tornadoes roll through somewhere yesterday. I didn't even catch it as I flipped through the main page there. I'll go back and check that out. Severe storms, power lines, people are out. Power. Prepare, prepare, prepare is always the wet message I get out of the weather. Be prepared, right? Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas. I know Wes S. had his chat last night, so I don't think it was in his area. But hopefully doesn't say anything about no deaths, so that's always a positive. Hey, Angel, what's going on? Good morning. 24 tornadoes, 5 states. So as we always say, prep for your most likely event. And for a lot of people, that's getting that tornado preparations. Get a bunker like Rob Painless has got. That'd be my dream. He's set up. I think they call them storm shelters, or it's even, you call it a root cellar, I guess. But get them while you can. He's got a good setup. Yeah, lots of damage and stuff out there with the weather in the middle of the country. So hopefully everybody makes it out unscathed that we may know, and those that we don't know. Wichita Falls, Texas. Some interesting pictures. So everybody, welcome to the morning. We haven't done this in a while, so if it sounds rusty or I get all out of whack, it's because I haven't done one of these in so long I forgot how I did them. So maybe we'll just go with a new style or format if I invent something new here, which I probably won't, but you never know. If you were expecting a certain thing, it may not end up that way. I hope everybody's doing good. Wayne, West Wind, good morning. So I guess we can get rolling. We got people rolling in here, so still don't understand why they changed the inside screen when you do view your you can't tell how many people are watching the chat unless you find a way to come in and watch from the way you guys are watching it to see how many people are in here. But I'll continue on. So some pretty vicious weather slamming through the middle of the country and moving east, I would assume. But I'm sure everybody's seen the situation in Venezuela is coming to a head to a certain extent. But as soon as it came to a head, it seemed to have dissipated. But lots of protest and violence in the streets yesterday. Had the police running over protesters. If you missed that video, there's links below in the description box of a lot of the events yesterday. And There was live feeds up everywhere. There was a lot of back and forth after the usurper and the Western backed guy Guaido proclaimed it was time to go, and the people for to go out and hopefully the military would join them, I think was kind of their agenda. And they got a little bit of split. But this morning I haven't seen anything yet. Has anybody seen any? There's not any big headlines of like what happened this morning. It's funny to me because Guaido, that guy, referenced May 1st starts today in his statement when they got ready to start this riot and this move to take over Maduro's control. But I always remind people that May 1st is a communist holiday and not worth celebrating. But people always want to tie it to some people's movement that doesn't exist. But there was definitely some action going on down there in Venezuela. Lots of pictures and links below. Maduro was supposedly on the verge of leaving, and the Russians have supposedly convinced him to stay, was one of the articles that are down there, I believe. Like he was on the verge of flying out. They're like, no, stay, you're good. Which means they're willing to back his play at some point if it got so extraneous that they were afraid he would be deposed of, I would imagine. But from what I saw yesterday, it was there's the running over the protesters video. That was you're looking at like, yeah, had nothing to do with blind spots or not seeing them. I don't think they were right in front and just plowed right into them. You would think that would instigate and cause greater a greater, broader movement potentially, but it didn't seem to do that. I didn't see the protest increase in intensity or anything after that incident. It looks like at least a dozen people got caught in the just ran over, just without regard, for sure, and not like under any serious threat. Nobody had been hurt up to this point. A short time later, I didn't see it happen, but there was a Venezuelan colonel that was shot on the freeway, and I saw them when they were doing like the Kazovac part of that deal, but it was reported, and they just showed him like there was somebody laying there in the street, and they bring up a truck and pull him out and stuff. But as far as where the shot came from and stuff like that, that was really limited stuff like that. There wasn't a lot of exchanges of fire, but there were a couple. But nothing like you thought it might be when early on they were showing the National Guard that took up positions against Maduro. They were reinforcing the Air Force base, I guess, that they have under control. Here's a demonstrator's injured. I guess this is one that got hurt from the vehicle running over him, maybe. Looks like. This is what you be ready for, Glitch Mod. Ready to treat all types of casualties. I hope that's not a tourniquet they're trying to put on his leg there for what they're doing there. That's interesting. So lots of action going on there. We've been following Venezuela back pretty much since we started these morning chats. We've been talking about Venezuela almost daily. Here's some stats at the end of this article. At least 69 people injured, 2 from gunfire. And this was as of last night. I haven't seen an updated article this morning. Oh, that's what happened to that truck. The National Guard rammed it because it was blocking the road. People were commenting in one of the chats, what happened to that truck that was in the middle of the road, because it was all that's what happened to it. Let's play one of these videos through, see what is this just that incident? Is this something more broad? That's just this one. It's a nice snorkel on that truck too, man. So if you're just wondering the difference between an armored car and a pickup, there you go. That looks like a F-150 type truck, maybe a F-250. But your regular cars don't have a chance against big vehicles like that. That's for sure. That's about it. Bringing out the water cannons, a bit of that. Yeah, I guess the opposition National Guard people were putting up blue identifiers on their arms for friendly fire. But you didn't see a whole lot of these guys during the day. There wasn't a lot of exchange. It didn't seem like there was a couple of little bursts, but it didn't seem like it got out of hand like you thought it might. One thing I noticed yesterday is Venezuelans have a lot of motorcycles. They had these whole military units rolling around in motorcycles. All the populace was on motorcycles everywhere. Hey, G Mangoes, what you doing up so well? I guess you're in an office, huh? What's that? I was going to say you're up early, but this is not early for you at all. Delaware Patriots with us. Good morning. You got a deal on an Airbnb in Venezuela? Cool. And one thing I wanted to see out of these stories is what's going on in the countryside. Who controls the other towns? Because a lot of the border areas, from what's happened over the last year, it would seem were places that were basically already overrun with opposition, either with people that were leaving the country or with so heavily influenced by Brazil and neighboring Colombia that a lot of the border checkpoints, the people had already left the country that worked there or whatever. It would be interesting to see what's going on in the other parts of the country other than here, but which made it interesting that Guaido decided to station at the Air Force base there by Caracas. So staying in the capital city is a symbol of power. So he has. I was thinking, if you're starting to format a real insurgency, you're probably going to start out in the countryside in a smaller location with the people you're trying to lead. But apparently, this is apparently obviously more of a power structure control than a true insurgency of a rising up of the oppressed masses, if you will. It's more who can control the power structure, because Guaido has had support from the parliament or their legislative body or whatever they call it. And it's not so much about populist uprising as it is somebody trying to assert themselves as leader. Hey, Tactical Tony, what's going on? Tactical Tony in the house. So lots of good pictures, especially the Daily Mail articles always have lots of fun pictures. But as of last night, Maduro had already claimed victory after a short day, which would be a pretty weak attempt after all this time. If you couldn't muster up more than this after all these years of just downright misery and the collapse as it's went on, if you can't get more support and more push than this, you're probably not going to get much further, I would say. But I didn't see a casualty count anywhere either. If somebody did update it, but Drudge hasn't got any new stories going on here. Talk about Mueller. Don't care about the report or whatever. Exiles dream of returning home, saber rattling. Let's see. Anybody seen any updates to see what's going on in the side chat again? West Wind CIA has too many millennials. Worst proxy war ever. Right, Wayne? It's getting off to a pretty mediocre start, right? It's not nearly what you might expect. It's not like when they went into Ukraine, they really had some groups fomented there and people willing to really, throw rounds back and forth at each other with the different nationalist groups in Ukraine going against the body politic, I guess you'd say. But the EU bankers really got everybody stirred up in the Ukraine when they started that deal. Whole different set of circumstances, I guess you would say. But again, as bad a condition as Ukraine is in, you'd think that somebody would be able to get more support than just a one-day protest out of the thing. Venezuela. Like the people running this don't get it. Most Venezuelans know who's really responsible for their hardships. Yeah, they're yeah. That's a multifaceted statement there, Angel. Maduro's not solely responsible, but he's not blameless either. I would say that. It's funny if people would have stopped, easily taken about 3-4 years ago, if people wouldn't have meddled in Venezuela and just let it go on its own, Maduro probably wouldn't have lasted as long as he did. But when people see the foreign influence creeping in, they start to rally around the dictators instead of trying to depose them. It's funny how that works. News. Let's see if I can get a news update. 54 minutes ago, Venezuela braces for protest. Let's see what the latest propaganda update is. Guaido's called for May Day protests because today is the day of the communists' it's like Christmas for communists. And I guess they've already started burning Paris down today. I got one of those articles up. So this is supposedly updated in the last hour. More clashes expected. And anybody see any live feeds for Venezuela this morning? Angel, you really think Maduro would be able to run the country just fine, seizing all the means of production and running it as a centralized state? I don't know if it would do fine. it was doing fine before Chavez took over. Hey, Jay Sparks, what's going on? You getting some good snow up there, Jay Sparks? It tried down here. It didn't even. I don't think it even dropped a flake down as far as we are. I think most of it stayed up on the 80 down up in Reno and stuff. Most even the wet weather. It didn't even get much rain. I think it's something's coming in today on the rain side, with the last little whimper of winter going away. Hey, good morning, land of land and land. What's going on? What's going? We're not going to have any pigs running this show today, though, Chris. So just so you're forewarned, they're not out of control today. So there's an RT live stream going, and RT in Espanol. It's about the only thing that even related to talking about Venezuela going on, but nothing. Don't know that their protests have started once again today. But going from one communist to the next, the riots in Paris for the day, they're calling it as being hijacked, but really it's just kind of the culmination. But apparently the Black Bloc has taken over the protest. 165 arrests as of the afternoon in France. So it's already late Wednesday afternoon there. 7,400 police were on the streets, where traditionally workers protest against the ruling elite. So good times in Paris. If you're not there on the weekend for the Elevest protest, you get to have the communist protest on Wednesday, whatever flavor you're looking for. I think everybody's just waiting for something to get burned down. And a lot of these guys that protest this, in this Paris in particular, a lot of the people causing a lot of the hate and discontent are the same ones that get these yellow vests protests and cause all the rioting, the looting part of it, and property destruction in those protests. They infiltrate in the groups and lash out, I guess you'd say. Also, we got with this Jesus First and Always. Good morning. Power out in Virginia for 10 hours. No storm. Well, there's a storm coming that way. We saw that off the top with the weather. That's interesting. Power's out with no storm rolling through yet, but it's coming. You in western side of Virginia or the eastern? Yes, Angel. The French could use a few firearms. I think that would be correct. So could the Venezuelans. So lots of police state action going on in Paris, it looks like. More for the par for the course for what's been going on for the last, year plus. The Yellow Vest protest started. Everybody's working on their, with all these other countries working on the throwing skills, you'd think they would be better at baseball. They're really getting good at throwing rocks. He needs to work on his form there. Obviously, bad body position makes for a weak arm throw there with like that. The wrist bent back, elbow not fully in line with the body. He's all kinds of body position off there. It's unfortunate. Need to open up rock throwing camps. Hey, Rooster, what's going on? Good morning. This is the first one we've had in a while, Rooster. That's why you haven't been catching them. We haven't had a live stream in dadgum. I called them off, back in March? Maybe it was even February was the last one. But finally got some time situated again, so we might be starting them up like before, a couple of weeks in the morning or whatnot, see what's going on with people. That's an interesting hat. I didn't know. Anybody translate French? Something to do with humans and nature, it looks like, because otherwise, why would you wear a pumpkin on your head? The people are fighting the human vegetables. There's probably more to that than I'm reading into it, but lots of fun in Paris if you wanted to get involved. So we got quite the crew. Walter Davis with us this morning. Good morning, Walter. Yeah, right, Delaware. Not really a quarterback coach, but anybody can coach good throwing form, right? It's one of those American things. We're more involved in sports than we are with anything else, right? Of course, you got to be able to throw a hand grenade. If you can throw a good baseball or football, you can throw a hand grenade pretty good. So it transferable skill, we'll call it. So don't rely on the French to throw a hand grenade for you, or the Venezuelans, from what I saw yesterday. So that's Paris. Paris burning midweek, Saturday, Sundays, Friday afternoons. What is going to go on in France? Good times, I guess you would say. Yeah, a lot of these links are below again in the description box if you're looking for links to go check out. Hey, Smola, what's going on? Good morning to rock training camps. Oh, get the Aussie voiceover guy to does the Aussie videos. That'd be pretty funny. The French only. Right, that's been the trend, right, Wes? That's a good point, Wayne. Yeah, the French are only good at fighting each other. They're not good when others are involved. Yeah, we were, as the saying goes, with the current situation, Charles Martel would be very disappointed. But following up on the video we did yesterday about the economic situation, everybody begging for more rounds of QE, everybody begging for more lower interest rates because the economy is just so great that we need free money because there is no inflation apparently. Multiple people saying that inflation's unseen. We're not seeing inflation as all these talking heads and big bankers get up there and decry the lack of inflation, which is their method of control. The debt created and then the inflation created off of it is how they subsist and manipulate and rise to the top over everybody else. Being at the top of the pyramid, I guess you would say. The top of the pyramid scheme. But Bay Area median home price drops the first time in 7 years, so there's more signs of weakness in several different housing areas where housing is starting to well, it's already extremely obscenely expensive, but it's starting to slow down in the rate, not only the cost, but also the number of sales over, which I guess some could say are going to be attributed partially to the winter weather and this past last quarter, but this is still the first time in 7 years, so that does show a trend, not necessarily a trend, but an anomaly that it could be regressing back towards the mean instead of being the exception. But these are some of the medium home sold price to median income ratios. So this is how expensive things are in San Francisco versus income. So it's the most expensive housing market basically for many years running now, topping out, even beating out New York City, and San Jose is now second. Insanely expensive, and when all these people sell their property because they've won the lottery basically with all these inflated housing prices, they jump ship and come over here and have been ruining our state for years now. And the national average is down here on the bottom. 3.7 is the medium home price to medium income. So your home price is about 3.7 times more expensive than your house. I mean, your house is 3.7 times more than your income, I think is what this is saying. So it takes 3 times your annual income across the country on average, which almost sounds reasonable. Except I don't think, I'm trying to think, I'm looking at housing prices going, I don't know that I make that much. When you look at what the median house price is around here and stuff like that. But some stats in this Zero Hedge article to follow up on some of the economic trends of a manipulated and inflated economy. If it's not the stock market, if it's not the bond market signals, the housing market, other places where debt is issued to gain leverage is where you're going to see signs of weakness, as they call it, or a potential bubble bursting. Unless Trump gets his way and they do another round of QE and they get all these trillions and trillions of dollars of more debt to prop it up even more, and he can ride off into the sunset after the next election and it pops under somebody else's watch and not his, which is all you're going to get there. Hey, Bobby, what's going on? Bobby Solar Homestead has joined us. You got weather coming your way, I think, Bobby, based upon what we saw at the beginning here. They're building new condos where you are, Angel, but they can't fill them, right? So somebody took out some big loan to build that thing and just expecting people would want to fill it, right? Just like build it and they will come, right? Walter asked if the mean incomes include homeless and junkies. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not, Walter. I'm pretty sure it's not. And what skews this number, I guess you would say, slightly more is like for San Jose and San Francisco, the median income there is just outrageous. It's even, I mean, you figure out the Tech Valley and stuff like that, people are making just to survive. You got to figure these are all dual income households that are making maybe close to 200,000 a year. But then the median home price is, 11 times that in San Francisco. There was that one instance a couple of years ago where we talked about on here, an open lot in San Jose, just an open corner residential lot sold for $900,000. It wasn't nothing on it. I guess you could say there were hookups. It was on city water and whatnot, but there was no property on it. The property was condemned that was on there, so it would have to be destroyed, and that sold for $900,000. Like, you've got to be kidding me. That's how out of control it's been. And it hasn't had its return to sanity moment yet, based upon these numbers here. if there is any sanity over in that neck of the woods. You can tell us, right, Rooster? Yeah, you make good money in San Jose or San Francisco, right? Right, Bobby, you're living in a whole different spectrum than these people in San Francisco. It's a whole different world, as you can imagine. But one of our other favorite topics, growing China hegemony, um, but their Belt and Road Initiative, which we've covered quite a bit over the last year and a half. But the worry over their Belt and Road debt as it notches a Swiss endorsement. Switzerland and China have signed a memorandum of understanding for cooperation on trade, investment, and finance for projects in third countries along the route of the Belt and Road Initiative. It's funny. The second bullet here, news comes as many criticize Beijing for overburdening countries with debt through the infrastructure development program. Nobody ever criticizes the U.S. over overburdening debt. Chinese financial institutions have provided more than $440 billion in funding for Belt and Road projects. So it says they signed a memorandum of understanding for cooperation of trade, investments, finance projects. The Central European country has a reputation of being an international lender. Yes, indeed. So China getting that support and money they need to really reach out to Western Europe and Africa. That's what that thing's all about, getting direct trade and resources across the continent. Pretty substantial project. That was making reminding me now that the Sri Lanka was a port point on that Belt and Road Initiative, and Sri Lanka had that big incident. Coincidence? We shall find out. Um, but really, like it says here, U.S. and India critical of the Chinese-led program. Um, India sees itself as a direct competitor with the Chinese, so using a Sri Lanka port would concern them over getting outflanked, I guess, on the trade routes. But you would think India is trying to expand similarly to the Chinese, but doesn't have quite the ability to put it into motion. But this is what CNBC here. This is coming out of, and they link to the video of the what is the Belt and Road Initiative. So if you're not familiar with what it is, that's a good clip to probably watch about what they're trying to build there. And there, that map showed quickly the Sri Lanka as one of their ports. They're using, really, it's going to be the key port because it gets them from the Indian Ocean over into Africa and up into the Med. So Sri Lanka will be a real key point for them in that. Having massive terrorist attacks is not going to help Sri Lanka build up their stuff there. All right. You have a good day, Rooster. Take it easy. You get more honey than you do with vinegar, says Angel, right? Well, that's what the Marshall Plan was all about, right, Angel? We rebuilt Europe with honey, and then we dropped the hammer on everybody when you have demands after the fact, I guess you'd say, when you get the creditors come due. But so that's going on with the Chinese continuing to expand out. And there was also a story, since we've been focused on, I guess you'd say, other things. China and Russia are doing a naval exercise. I don't know if it's in the Taiwanese Straits or if it's in the South China Sea, but I did see a headline come across yesterday about that. Last week, we had ships that ran through the Taiwanese Strait again, which is always seen as a provocation by China. But apparently, the Chinese and the Russians were combining for an exercise at some point in the area again this week. Where did I see that? Can't remember where I saw that, but yeah, they were teaming up for I guess you would say a warning signal exercise to tell people to back off. Did I make sure I got this in my links? Delaware says, due to my town, they kept building new retail space that can be filled while retail space they built 20 years ago is empty. It's it's always the newest, shiniest thing, right, Delaware? Everybody's got to get on board. That's kind of the way it goes. It's all about leverage. Let's see, where's Tommy Boy? Tommy Boy should be in here by now, letting us know how the markets are doing. Let's refresh this. Go with our current markets should be open. It was surprising that the stuff in Venezuela didn't bump gas and oil prices yesterday. That was kind of surprising, which kind of led me to believe they wouldn't go anywhere. If they were really going to go anywhere, that oil price would have spiked yesterday, and it's been flat. That's kind of surprising. But they've run up enough in the last couple months. You really don't want it to run up anymore. That's for sure. The bond yield curve continues to be inverted. And gold and silver, well, silver smackdown, gold not really, but buy up the silver if you get a chance to get a little bit of money in your hands. Refresh the zero hedge. How much time we got here? Okay, we got about 15 minutes remaining here. What else people got going on out there? We'll see. Wayne brings it. There you go. Off topic. That's what I'm talking about. The Arctic movie is out. The Arctic is the name of the movie. Is that like got some survival overtones to it or something there, Wayne? Or what's the benefit of it? Why is it so awesome? Survival movie? Okay. Yeah, I might have to check that. The Arctic. It's a pretty simple name to remember. So that's the update. That refreshed? Okay. So I guess today the Fed's coming out with a statement again today. So speaking of the markets and all the rate cuts and everything else, so the Fed is set to announce its rate decision in under 6 hours. And just 24 hours ago, the president was begging for a rate cut. We'll see how that works. Oh, I know what I got to talk about. I'll close out with the insane video I saw yesterday. I got to pull that up if I can find it. Where was that at? Okay, I'll find that. But probability of a rate cut, which is just insane when you think about it, because it's more cheap money. But Trump asked for a 1% rate cut, not a 1 point rate cut, not a quarter point, a full percentage rate cut, which is insane. That would take us back down to basically like 2014, 2013 rates. And he also asked for QE, and it will provide further tailwind for risk assets. So going along with this article, but what if the market, whose discounting capacity has been destroyed by a decade of central planning? That's the thesis of Bloomberg macro commentator Garfield Reynolds, who writes overnight that this year's Goldilocks rally in stocks and bonds will likely be derailed by a far more hawkish than experienced Fed. Than expected Fed, my bad. More hawkish than expected. Here are the arguments. Rates markets have taken Fed governors dovish inch and mistakenly run a mile. The Open Market Committee isn't likely to deliver any rate cuts in the next year. The U.S. economy isn't in distress. Unemployment has barely ticked up from the half-century low touched in September, and first quarter GDP beat forecasts. Yes, inflation is nowhere to be seen, and there were plenty of devils lurking in the details of those national accounts, but a 2019 growth forecast of 2.4% is far short of a break the emergency glass situation. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. That's basically what the president said yesterday when he's asking for a full percentage point and a bunch of QE. That would be like a sky is falling 2008 situation. Which I guess you could prep the battlefield, be like, yeah, this is coming. Get the train ready, I guess. Stocks at record highs are helping to boost financial conditions to their easiest since September, and levels more often associated with robust economic expansion. It's fair to argue that there's no present justification for further Fed hikes, but rate cuts have usually only come when the outlook was much darker. And yet Eurodollar futures and Fed funds futures suggest traders are convinced cuts are coming, which is just insanity. Everybody thinks they're going to get free money to play within the market because that's the only place they're going to put it. Their interest rate doesn't justify saving any money. So you have to either put it into something that's going to make a return, like a stock market, a gamble, or into building something, get a loan to build something like a building or real estate or something like that. That's why these big city real estate, like you talk about the condos, down there, everybody in the side chat talking about these different building projects. It's all about getting a return on investment because the money's worthless. So you got to put your money to work and get it to put into something that can provide you an income. That's what that's all about. That's why all these buildings and all this stuff is going on. But that's this. As it closes out, unfortunately, stocks and bonds both appear ripe for disappointment from an overly aggressive front-end rates market, potentially setting up fresh volatility, spikes, and a stocks meltdown. Unless the Fed can prop it up, which is what they want to do. So, insane video that I saw yesterday, absolute insanity, talking about this Trump request for increased tightening, or increased, I should say, not increased tightening, increased QE and everything else. So the X22 report, and I don't follow them, but I've watched them off and on because they are a big channel, obviously 418,000 subscribers, and they come across the radar as a recommended video every now and then. And so I'll close out with this and get your comments. But they did a video yesterday, or he did a video, whoever they are. If you're getting 418 subscribers, I just assume you're a they organization with a front man speaking. Probably got an editor and a videographer and everything else, graphics design. But right on cue, it's happening. I'm like, what's happening? Okay, this is going to be, is this a collapse? And it's got the end of the Fed sticker, sign held up by Trump. I'm like, okay. Um, but he goes through this 14-minute video here about how Trump is once again playing 30, 20D chess. And I'm just shaking my head the whole time. So Trump's request for more QE and for lower interest rates is all about outflanking the Fed and about exposing the Fed with their shenanigans. That's what his premise is in this whole thing, is that Trump's statement and his agenda is to outflank the Fed and next year or at some point in the future expose them, show how corrupt they are, and take them down. I'm just shaking my head the whole time. So these channels positing out there for these 95,000 viewers that watch this, that Trump is somehow outflanking the Fed with these statements and is going to reveal their corruption for all to see if you don't already know. And then he's going to ask for an audit of the Fed to reveal more of the corruption, to shut them down. Let that sink in for a minute. How's the president going to do that? Well, he's not, because how many times has the Congress been put forth bills to audit the Fed under multiple administrations? It's not like this is Trump's the first one to see the corruption of the Fed, not the first one to try to expose it, not the first one. There's a whole book about the corruption of the Fed. G. Edward Griffin's book, if y'all don't know it, The Creature from Jekyll Island, excellent book. The history and the origins of the Fed is all you need to know how corrupt and underhanded it is. But so this guy's got 418,000 subscribers, and he's filling them with this hope. It's just like Q. It's like a Q statement. It's like he's gonna pull out, and destroy the Fed with one swift blow sometime in the future. We just don't know what the real plan is, but it's kind of like this. It's yet to be revealed type stuff. It's like, oh my goodness, people are being led so far astray. Even if the president called for an audit, doesn't mean Congress will pass it, because Congress hasn't ever passed one before, because the bankers aren't going to let it happen. The bankers pour too much money into Congress to allow them to cease their money train. It's not even a money train. It's their Ponzi scheme, to reveal their Ponzi scheme of that is now the Federal Reserve note and the debt. It's all it is. But there's 95,000 people watching this video with 5,000 thumbs up, with only 81 thumbs down. So that tells you the ratio. Insanity. But this is what people are watching. This is where people that, like people that listen to Q and all this stuff, that it's 20D chess, and Trump's just smarter than everybody else because he made the Art of the Deal, and he has this book he made, years ago. No, the Art of the Deal he used was selling the American people to vote for him, the ones that did. Oh, so that's my rant for the day. You can go check that video out. I mean, that won't be hard to find. X22 report. It's from yesterday. If you really wanted to watch it, I would recommend listening to it, to really, listen to it, and listen to it with what he says versus what my hypothesis is, or my train of thought, and just bounce the two off each other. Like, what is true, what is not true. Okay, the Fed's not going to get audited because it would have been audited when they're champions of an audit or a shutdown of the Fed in Congress already. If he would just support them and their bills they've proposed, it would happen. You don't have to wait for a moment when the things are going bad economically to expose the Fed. You can just bring out what they did in 2008 to pay off the banks, and nobody went to jail, or what happened in 2008, but the Fed bailed everybody out. And the statements of other congressmen that, they were told it would be martial law if they didn't pass the bailout, stuff like that. Yeah. What's the statement on there's a guy, the hashtag on the Twitter is BPigs. BPigs rule the world. Bankster, elite, pedophiles. I can't remember what the rest of the acronym stands for, but that's one of the things that goes around Twitter is BPigs rule the world. So that'll get you fired up for the day, if nothing else. It's a shame there's Jackson and his portrait in the back, the guy that actually shut down the bank. And that's another thing they point to as symbolism, that he's got Jackson in the Oval Office. But again, you've had 4 years and you haven't supported it at all. Maybe we'll be wrong. I'd love to be wrong about this. I would love for him to shut down the Fed, but I just don't see it. But let's do it. If we get down to it, let's shut it down. It'd be great. But I just don't see what's happening over on the Twitterverse. Anything interesting? And this is why we have our coffee chat. Without it, I'd basically be a 2-year-old who's blank, using a washer. It'd be a bad day. We'll see what else we got in the side chat. If they stray, let them hear what they want to hear again. Start by telling what they want to hear and slowly twist it over time. Right? Soothing lies. This is another thing that came across the radar last night, and this is coming across the Twitter again this morning. FAA banned U.S. airlines from flying over Venezuela. FAA put out a notice yesterday, later last night, 26,000 ceiling on all aircraft flying over Venezuela, which is a precursor indicator for lots of military flights going over Venezuela. Usually U.S., could be drones, could be warcraft, we don't know. But that's a sign of that we're getting involved in somehow putting aircraft over the country, which could be drones or otherwise. Of course, it could be Russian aircraft too that we're telling people to stay away from. I don't know. But that's a bad development if you want to talk about being concerned about people getting involved in our U.S. involvement. That's a bad indicator that we're probably getting some stuff going in there. Could be flying in transport aircraft of some type. Who knows? I don't know how much anti-aircraft effort the Russians have provided the Venezuelans. Hey, RG, what's going on? Good morning. Let me back up here. I missed some of the investigate the paychecks to Clarence Beeks. Nice, Delaware. Angel says X22 started worshiping Trump when he started losing subscribers. Now he praises both to keep his views up. Is that right, Angel? Did he was he losing subscribers 4 years ago, or I guess it'd be about 3 years ago? So how do you go flip-flopping like that and keep subscribers? I mean, I guess you'd have to, if you did a video, I guess, explaining how you've changed your mind maybe, but you can't just flip-flop without a revelation of how you have changed your reasoning, I guess. I mean, I've been saying since the what do you call that? The what's it? The primaries. Since Trump was in the primaries, I've been calling Trump out as this charlatan. Nobody wanted to listen to me. But used car salesmen get a long way in this country. Some news for anybody that's interested. The Mustang Ranch wants you to drop by for a meal. So that's the Mustang Ranch that the government picked up at a bankruptcy, and they fell apart because the government was running it. And then it got back in private hands again. Yeah, just remember that. Your government can't even run a brothel. That's how bad they are at business. Oh, let me catch up in the side chat here. See what else we got. Jay Sparks says Trump ain't doing nothing. That's probably about right. It's about the size. Well, he's lining people's pockets, and he's increasing his brand. The Trump brand is going to be heightened because of his status as president. That's going to be for sure. It's not anything but about that. Oh, and another of those that think he's playing 20D chess. There was another article that came across yesterday. Ivanka gave some award from some association or something to Lagarde, however you say her name. She's one of the French banksters involved over there in the EU. And Ivanka's given her some award as a representative for some organization. It's like, yeah, he's playing 20D chess. He's so embedded with them that this is going on. Yeah, yeah. Russia grants citizenship to DPR. What is DPR, Angel? Russia grants citizenship to DPR? Is that a person? DPR. Am I supposed to know what that initial stand for? I don't know what that stands for. West Wayne has an idea, but can't say it. Power outages at the control tower. Oh, Walter, you're saying power outages in Caracas over Venezuela is why they might issue the FAA order. They taught them how to throw, unlock the French. I'm not sure about that either. DPB, Donbass People's Republic. Isn't Donbass in Ukraine, correct? Or is because Russia took the Crimea. So is Donbass in what would be Eastern Ukraine? Yeah, power outages, West Wind, quote unquote. So any residents of Donbass can come to Russia as citizens, or everybody there is a citizen of Russia already? I guess would be the question. Also in the news yesterday was a shooting on the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. That happened yesterday. I guess killed 2, injured 4 others. There was short video of them supposedly having the shooter in custody, which I still don't get how that happens. Cops get all amped up and kill people every day for no reason with no weapons, and this guy's actually killing people, and they always seem to take him into custody unless they kill themselves. I don't get that. Why you would even try to talk down somebody that's done that and just shoot on sight would be my kind of thinking going into something like that. But cops always seem to pull those people out alive unless they take their own life. One of the most bizarre things I think I've ever. It's like a repetitive theme. It's like if there's ever a time to be jacked up on adrenaline and make a bad decision, it's when that active shooter comes out with his hands up. You know what I'm saying? Daggum. Here's a story. We'll close with this. This is, well, I hate to close on a bad note, but daggum, that's just criminal. 500,000 bees killed when their bee sets were set on fire. This is in Texas. Dozens of beehives were attacked and set on fire in Texas over the weekend in an attack beyond comprehensions that killed an estimated 500,000 bees. As if we don't have enough problems in the world with bees dying of all the different man-made causes, geoengineering and chemicals and everything else, and just taking away of space, and then people that are trying to raise bees get attacked. Brazoria County Beekeepers Association. Several hives appeared ashen black and one brood flame floated in water. At least 20 hives were damaged and 500,000 bees burned to death or drowned. Holy cow. Makes you wonder what's going through people's minds. So that's 500 less workers to put food on your table right there. That's a bad sign. All right, we'll close out here in the side chat. Trump did just withdraw us from the UN Small Arms Treaty. Says Robert and Cindy Moore. Hey, good morning. How you doing? Welcome to the chat. Right, he withdrew us from any consideration. Congress had never signed us onto it anyway, which was good, but he did pull us out of that. I guess you're still on the 20D chess train. We'll take it as that. They have to get him back to Langley for debrief. Oh, Delaware. Let's don't get too far into the conspiracies. But I mean, what's the rationale in some of those situations, right? Why go the route they go? Right. They're separatists. I get that, Angel, but they're not officially recognized by a lot of places. And Ukraine still claims it, even though they can't control it. We'll just call it'd be nice people to say, well, agree to disagree, and they just go their own way, right? But then that doesn't give people control they want. No, Walter, it was an attack. There was no reason. It was a commercial bee operation, and they just got burned. It was just an act of vandalism, maybe, or maybe a competitive beekeeper. I don't know. Now, they weren't killer bees. They were just the regular working bees, hard-working worker bees, it looks like. All right, folks, I think we're about ready to wrap it up. Oh, wow. We got to talking about Ukraine, and you guys sidetracked. It's 10 minutes after. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Hey, thanks for coming back, folks, for the first morning chat in quite some time. It was productive, I guess you would say, in some form and fashion. Prayers for all those in the tornado area yesterday, out there in the middle of the country, Texas up to Missouri and whatnot. Hope everybody got their heads down. Sounds like there were no casualties, but lots of damage. So y'all have a good hump day, and we will see you. We might see you Friday, maybe Saturday. We're going to do this again. Try to get this back into a groove of doing this morning thing. We shall see. But y'all have a good day. Go out, live free, folks.